Aloha and welcome everyone. My name is Georgia Skinner and I head up the Creative Industries Division for the state of Hawaii. We're very excited to have a wonderful group of Indigenous female voices today to talk with you about not only how they got to where they are and their passion about female storytelling in the world, but also what we have done here in our own community and our community across Asia Pacific to really strengthen storytelling from Indigenous voices, particularly those Wahine that we respect so much. And again, Creative Lab Hawaii is a program that is here for you. It is for our creative entrepreneurs, not only just Hawaii, but of course around the globe as well. Our main focus is to connect you with the Indigenous community, as well as be able to translate what we're trying to do into a much more vibrant foundation for Hawaii's creative economy. Media and music and the cultural aspects of our Hawaii storytelling is critical in the world today. And many of the voices that you'll hear from on this panel are the stellar examples of that. First, let me introduce our wonderful host today, Lisette Marie Flanary, who I'm proud to say is one of the stellar faculty at our University of Hawaiʻi Academy for Creative Media program at Mānoa campus. Thank you so much, Lizette, for taking this on today. And we look forward to having her share about her background. She's a producer and director of Lehua Films and many award-winning documentaries who really has made a mark for the storytelling across broadcast television and many film festivals. Her films include American Aloha, Hula Beyond Hawaiʻi, Na Kamalei, The Men of Hula, One Voice, and Tokyo Hula. It is my pleasure to introduce Lisette Marie Flanary. Take it away, Lizette.
Thank you. Mahalo nui, Georgia. In a moment, I'm about to introduce our panelists. And I just wanted to share a little bit about the webinar that we're going to be having today. And our conversation is going to last about 40 to 45 minutes. And for the viewers out there, please feel free to post any questions that you have in the Q&A. We'll have about 10 to 15 minutes at the end of our session, and we'll try to get to as many questions from the audience as we can when we start that portion of the program. Now on to our panelists. It is my great pleasure to welcome Kelly D'Angelo. Hailing originally from her Haudenosaunee homelands in upstate New York, Kelly has done her fair share of storytelling in different mediums, including writing for television, musicals, film, books, and animation. Her recent credits include Miracle Workers, Adult Swim's Final Space, Cartoon Network's Mao Mao, and Hasbro's My Little Pony Equestria Girls. You can catch her on various online platforms from Twitch to YouTube as a professional dungeon master for Dungeons & Dragons, Geek Sundry, College Humor, Buzzfeed, and more. And next, I'm very pleased to welcome Connie Flores, who is the founder and CEO of Hula Girl Productions, LLC, since 2001. As an Indigenous filmmaker, Connie's projects have included international award-winning narratives, documentaries, and television projects. Her recent credits include Waikiki and 38 Minutes. She created Honolulu Symphony Productions, LLC, and executive produced music for such films as Princess Ke'iolani and Hiromi in Love. And next, Bea Mafileo is a freelance, trailblazing award-winning director and producer. Her feature documentary, For My Father's Kingdom, had its world premiere at the Berlinale 2019, alongside her short documentary, Toa Ipua Puaga and Lili'u, which she production designed. She recently directed her first drama short, and this year made her debut TV directing in the Panthers television series in New Zealand. Last but not least, I am very happy to welcome Hinalei Moana Wong Kalu, who is a Kanaka Maoli teacher, cultural practitioner, and filmmaker who uses digital media to protect and perpetuate Indigenous languages and traditions. She began her film work as a protagonist and educational advisor for the award-winning films Kumuhina and A Place in the Middle, and received a National Education Association Human Rights Award, Native Hawaiian Educator of the Year Award, and the White House Champion of Change for the groundbreaking impact campaigns associated with these films. Continuing her journey on the other side of the lens, Kumuhina also produced the PBS Arte feature documentary, Ladies in Waiting, and her award-winning short, Lady Eva, about her transgender sisters in the Kingdom of Tonga. Her latest film, Kapai Mahu, premiered at Tribeca and was on this year's shortlist for the Oscars Best Animated Short Film. Welcome to all of you. Mahalo nui for being here. Let me just, I'd like to kick off the conversation by asking all of you, how do you think being an Indigenous woman has shaped your career? Let's start with Connie.
I just feel like how it shaped it. Wow, from the very beginning, it was a short film and it was about a woman, and it's CAM, Center for Asian American Media, still has that project 22 years later, and they still have it. And it was a short film called Constructions, and heartfelt. And it was the first time they actually had an online competition going on for short films. So that was like my first little intro at that. And the second one, which that's how I met Hina actually, was Ke Kulana He Mahu, Remembering a Sense of Place. And even more so, my kumus that I had at University of Hawaiʻi were instrumental in supporting that project. And they were instrumental in guiding me in storytelling as well. And so it started in those areas of film. And I think what I really found most important being an Indigenous woman and telling stories was the importance of Indigenous women as well as men telling stories within our cultures or where we live, rather than Hollywood coming here to tell the stories for us, and how important that is, and the different perspectives that come into play. And it's still happening today. Working with Christopher Kuhunahana, and it was like he was presented with the script and he was like, oh no, we would never do that in Hawaii, And so he's inviting me to be on board again with him on another project. And I'm like, yes. And that was just yesterday morning. But the importance of having our own voice. And we're going to respect our own culture because it's our backyard, it's our home. Right. It's 1 degree of separation and the importance of that. And there's a big difference how we tell the story and how someone else would tell it that's not even from here. Big difference. Yeah.
Awesome. Kelly, what are your thoughts on that question?
Hi, I am Kelly Lynn D'Angelo, Tuscarora of the Haudenosaunee people, and I'm currently on occupied Tongva and Chumash lands. So I just want to start with that very quickly. It's a great question. For me personally, everything. It is what I am. And from the moment I came out of my mother's womb to this moment, to the day that I pass on, I am Indigenous, and it shapes everything I do. It shapes the food I eat. It shapes the clothes I wear. It shapes the way that I travel. But for me personally, my family is massive, huge. My grandmother seriously popped out a band herself. She had 16 children. So growing up in my family, can you imagine how many cousins I have when you're trying to get a word in, when you're trying to get an ounce of that spotlight on you, to get a little bit of your grandmother's time, or, her glint and gleam of her eyes. So I grew up with being that comedian and being that storyteller in my family space, because it was such a great way to access and connect with every single family member. And everyone had such different sense of humor. I mean, most of my uncles, their favorite thing to do was when you came of age, throw you in the above ground pool that our family shared. Like, all right, doesn't matter if you have on a nice watch, doesn't matter what you got on yet, we're throwing you in the pool because you're 12 years old. So I grew up with a very playful family. We were outdoors all the time. Humongous farm, just come from farmland, come from upstate New York, and beautiful, beautiful home. And I think that that's kind of what started it all for me. It's just my family creating this sort of corner, and I had to create a corner for myself in it. And that's where sort of my own empowerment of my stories started. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, Kelly. Thea.
Kia ora koutou katoa. Yeah, I mean, I think it shapes, like Kelly, everything that I do in my whole life. I'm very inspired by my family. And I think for me, being a hawhikasi living in New Zealand, it was always a way to kind of understand what it is and how it is to be a Tongan. So I'm always on this kind of continual journey to really figure that out. And I think, you know, I've had the luxury of being able to kind of move between two worlds. And I think this really informs my lens and I guess informs my art making in terms of making things, I guess, sorry, how would I put it? I guess, you know, because I want people to be able to understand my work, and I want people from all different cultures to be able to understand my work. So I guess when I present my work, I try and have like a balanced kind of view to it. And I think, you know, that just comes with being a hawhikasi, because you're always kind of adapting to this side of the family, adapting to this environment. And so, yeah, I mean, I think being an Indigenous filmmaking woman is it just comes with my whole life. It comes with my territory. It's how I raise my children, and my ongoing journey of discovery. So, yeah.
Awesome. Mahalo. Thank you, Vea. And Hina, what are your thoughts?
Aloha mai katoa pauloa. Mahalo ni to kato hui ana. As I reflect upon this journey, I find myself extremely humbled to be amongst other female filmmakers and to be acknowledged as such. But the journey started out far more different. And, you know, the Western world imposes upon us all kinds of things that really, if we allow ourselves to play into it too much, we don't really see our potential. And so once I embraced the wahine within, it really helped to open the doorways for being a much stronger person. The person that was born a boy, but that became Hinale Moana, was not that same kind of strong person. So, being acknowledged as she, and here as Hinale Moana in this panel, it only reminds me to utilize any and all of the platforms that serve as a basis for my work, whether it's in the community or in filmmaking, to continue to work towards uplifting Hawaii, uplifting the Kanaka worldview, and empowering my language, my culture, and my home.
Wonderful.
Mahalo.
Thank you so much. Mahalo, Hina. And when I think of strong, I definitely think of you as a very Mānoa Hine. So I'm so happy that you're here with us today. You know, I sort of feel like I've been reading a lot lately about how, you know, the film and television industry seems to have finally gotten the message that diversity is a good thing, right? But what are some of the challenges that you have faced as, you know, a filmmaker trying to highlight Indigenous stories and Indigenous voices in your work in the entertainment industry? Anyone want to go first? Any challenges that have, I mean, Hina, you were talking about that, those kind of Western concepts and things. Maybe you can speak a little bit more about that.
Yes, the most recent of which that speaks to Kapai Mahu. For several projects now, including the one that I was privileged to meet Connie on, Ke Kulanehe Mahu in 2000, 2001. You know, these initial films, Kekulanahe Mahu, Kumuhina, A Place in the Middle, Ladies in Waiting, Lady Eva, and Kapai Mahu, they all have that grounding to Mahu. And, you know, for some out there in the community, they're looking at this as yet another way to promote an agenda. But it's not to promote an agenda, it's to say that I exist. And it's also to say that there has to be a different kind of level of what we call equity. And there are females who, in spirit, in mind, and in heart, we occupy a physical space that makes life challenging. So, you know, there are people in the community that didn't like my articulation of Kapai Mahu and saying that they were Mahu, when clearly the historical evidence that we based our work on, if I were to say completely in Hawaiian language who exactly these people were, the only term applicable is Mahu. But see, the good and bad is that people think that now that's all I'm good for. And if they only paid attention that for many years now, it's not about being Mahu, it's not about being Kane or Wahine. For me, it's about being Kanaka. And it's about my culture and my home. It's about my language and my history. So, yeah, it's it's a challenge. And people just don't process it. They don't see it, but that's okay. I'm just going to stick to it.
Absolutely. Always a challenge, right? Everyone faces lots of challenges. Bea, what challenges have you encountered, would you say, in this industry?
Well, I guess there's many challenges. I think my biggest challenge at the moment is being a mum and having 3 boys and trying to have this career and, 12-hour days, 13-hour days, 14-hour days. And because, when you're in the battlefield of a shoot, of a drama shoot especially, there's you have no time for anything else. You're literally, your washing pile fills up, so I guess, the challenges of actually being a woman and childcare, that's a major one. But also, there is still a very male Western kind of attitude that is sometimes displayed on set, and it's really it can make you feel like, oh man, I don't know what I'm doing, am I doing the wrong thing? It can make you feel really insecure, but it's really identifying that this is not your problem, it's coming from them and their way that they've been trained. And so it's really just, I think it's actually just over the last couple of weeks where I've gone, you know what, no more Miss Nice Guy. It's actually, I'm sick and tired of apologizing. I'm sick and tired of saying, man, oh, sorry, yes, we'll do it. It's whatever works, for you. I'm as a woman, I think it just, you naturally, and as an islander too, you naturally say, oh, I can work around you. But actually, no. You guys need to work around me now. It's like really just bringing the power back to yourself. And I've only just, done it this just really recently, and I'm nearly 40 years old, and I feel like I've just had this penny drop. But it's actually it's very empowering, and to be like, no, guys, this is not the way we would do it. This is the way it's going to be. So yeah, that's been actually my biggest challenge at the moment, is this kind of working around this kind of male, predominantly sort of white energy, and just going, no, enough. Yeah.
More so in the, you just made your television directing debut. Was it more so in that area, or is it something that you've seen in documentary into narrative and into television?
Well, I think with documentary, it was very much my own world and my own space. I was, my cameraman was my partner, and we were doing it on my family. So I was kind of in this my own kind of environment. When I worked with our funding entities like the Film Commission, I was actually really lucky because they didn't kind of. I was able to tell the story the way that I wanted to tell it. So I really appreciated that. I think it's been more in this kind of like in the drama world where it's very, there's already kind of systems in place, and it's just about breaking down those systems and going, it's not working anymore. These are the voices. You guys want to make cool brown stuff now. This is the way we have to make it. There's no more of through your lens, it's got to be through our lens. So yeah, and I mean, I also have a few other producers and other projects that I'm working with, and I get the same kind of thing, and it's really just about just putting up those kind of making the VAR right, and being like, no, this is my VAR. If you guys want to come into our story space, if you guys want to come into our world, then this is the way it has to be. And I think I've been blessed to have worked on the Panthers, where there's a lot of brown crew and there's a lot of brown talent. All of our new actors are up and coming, and it's about kind of teaching this next generation coming through that actually, guys, just be a nice person. That's at the core. Remember who you are and where you come from and your cultural values. Don't forget your values. Even though you're in this kind of very westernized way of making film, there's values, core values that we need to remember. So
absolutely, I love that. Just be a good person. Just be a nice person, right? Connie, how about any challenges that you've faced in your career?
What haven't? Wow, whether it's, Vea said it very well. In documentary world, we're kind of in our own world when we're doing that. But when it comes to narratives, I'm just thinking of an example like Waikiki. We're working on it. It's a shoot, and I bring on a lot of the women from Hawaii Women in Filmmaking, the young girls, so they can learn, mentor. And I honestly, and I know she gets this, and the women get this, is I take care of the women and the young women that are on set as if they're my daughters, to be honest with you. I'm the lead producer on it, and I let them know if any situations arise, you let me know and I will handle it. So I come with that. And a situation did arise, and luckily I'm working with a writer-director who respects where I'm at and what position I will take, and I handle it. And he was like, okay, I agree with you. We have to let go of that guy. And it's about mutual respect, and it happened to be somebody not from here. They were from Los Angeles, and, not appropriate, and we just cut it off. And I feel a lot of times, I don't know, it needs to be a safe place for all women, young girls, women, and we're the example for them. We really are. And so we have a responsibility as filmmakers for those younger ones. And so I take that on, and you were talking earlier about what molded me and who I am, or as an Indigenous filmmaker. I have 5 older brothers and 1 younger sister, and 5 older brothers that are very macho, 2 of them in law enforcement, retired. And and you know what? They look at me and they go, Connie can handle anything, and it's just, and my sister is even more upfront than me as a pastor over in Kauai, you know. And but I have to say, the large family, Kelly shared about that. My father's side is, you know, Apache Indian. And there's no joke, 400 or 500 in a family reunion every other year that we get together. Huge family on that side. And they love me just right where I'm at, you know, within the family. And I love them dearly, and I'm grateful for that. But they mold me in a lot of ways. And the women are the matriarchs in the family, very much so. And we take care of each other. So it's that same thing that keeps happening. But I think the challenge is we get challenged in how do I act upon it? Do I act appropriately and respectfully? And how do I act upon that? And I think my mentors have taught me, my relatives, or even the other women in my life have taught me how to act respectively. You know, I don't have to go in anger, but I can be stern and be positive. And now a lot of times within the community, I have women that'll just say, just go to Connie, she'll handle it, you know, and yeah, you know, it becomes a responsibility.
Yeah, I love what you said about that sense of responsibility to the next generation and looking out for each other.
Yes.
It's a safe place for everyone.
Yes, important.
Yeah, awesome. Kelly, what are some of the challenges that you may have faced, especially maybe in the television world? I imagine that's a whole different ball of wax.
It is something to, you know, have moved out here from home. You know, I didn't even understand at first you could write TV. I mean, I didn't, back where I'm from, you know, you work as you paint bridges, and you know, if you're really lucky, you become like the general manager of the local Dunkin' Donuts. Like you just, there's no, you know, the industry is very specific and small. So when I went to Syracuse University, which is where I went and got my degree, it was a really eye-opening experience to be like, oh, all these people here, a lot of them from a lot of rich kids. I was not the rich kid by any means. I got full ride. But being able to kind of watch and learn, it taught me something from a young age that I always kind of had tried to play, which was like, I was in a white school system. My mascot was an Indian growing up. I grew up with a duality, but it was strange for me because to like be told your whole life that you don't exist when you see your family every weekend and you know you exist. It taught me a lot about structures and the system from a young age. And I said, okay, let's play the white man's game. So I got straight A's. I was a triple major with a double minor. I got into Syracuse. And I said, let's go to Hollywood. Let's do the same treatment. Now, that's a lot harder because Hollywood's a lot more about who you know. And it's not as much about like, if you can do this or get there. And it was like I was wandering for a long time, just hoping that somebody would give me the chance because it just wasn't happening. And hard work ethic, just wanted to open a door so I could one day tell the stories I wanted to tell. Now, there is something that I have learned now, having been out here for 10 years and having, you know, in some ways gotten my foot in that door and been able to kind of collect a nice resume full of different television shows. That still applies. There's still a system and there is still a structure. So until one day I'm in a position where I can tell my own stories, I am still that person sitting there around a table contributing to somebody else's narrative. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm not contributing in quarters that I can, or throwing in characters where I can, or having discussions with my city, Indian community, helping people get jobs out here. There's like so much more happening behind the scenes in other positions that I've been in. But if you're talking about navigating all of that, and where have I felt like my voice has been suppressed? I mean, I'll say until I one day can bring one of my own shows forward, it's probably gonna feel that way.
Oh, I want to see your own show for sure.
I do too.
So, on that note, like, how do you think Indigenous Wahine storytellers can, be more creative and support each other? How can we create more opportunities for each other? And what are some of the ways that you would hope that we can kind of create and collaborate to strengthen, women in this industry?
Could I continue to speak on that? Because I feel like it kind of nicely moves to that question, which is when I first moved out to LA 10 years ago, and I was a part of the Native and Indigenous Writers Committee out here at the WGA, our meetings maybe had 8 people in it if we were lucky. Flash forward 10 years later, now that some doors have opened, and Sierra Ornelas, who everyone should know, got her own show, Rutherford Falls. Within the last year, that number's gone from 8 to 32. So the moment that the door opened, that Indigenous storytellers had the agency and ability to start to bring their community and their people into the fold and into the narrative, the story started exploding. And so did the representation, and so did just accessibility across the board. So I would say, as somebody who wrote on Spirit Rangers, which is a Netflix kids animation show with an all Native writers room with a Native showrunner and Native talent, and Native down the full lines, Indigenous and Native, it's beautiful. As somebody who got to contribute to that, seeing those spaces opening up, I've been able to get maybe 8 or 9 friends jobs. And these are people, again, that I connected with out here. And it's all about like raising up your community and bringing more people into the fold. I was able to like touch base with my clan mothers and get some auditions from the res, so that way I could start to get some kids' voices involved with things. So that's what it's about. It's about building bridges, because unfortunately we have to do that because they don't exist right now. So that's my 2 cents.
Awesome, thank you. Bea.
Yeah, I mean, it's a similar kind of situation here. We do, though, have a lot of support groups like PISA, which is Pacific Island Screen Artists. And it's really, I think, there's 3 women of us on the board, but our kind of focus is trying to afi the women that come into the space, because it is really hard to get things off the ground. It is hard to stay in this industry. Yeah, and also too, like bringing your family, bringing your friends along. Like my sister, she art directed Panthers, and then we got my my brother working. He was working in the art department with us at one point, and then my little sister jumped in. But so it's about kind of like infiltrating the spaces with the people who we want to work with, who we feel safe and who we feel creative with. So yeah, and it's just, I guess, to just reaching out to those who you see need extra support, but also to being available for answering emails back, answering people who reach out. I think that's really important to make sure that you, it's kind of your responsibility, I guess, now that we are all kind of in there and in the industry. We just got to reach down and pull up. Yeah.
Hina, what are your thoughts?
I think I'm seeing a little bit different angle, and hopefully I'll be able to put it out there in this answer. Someone with my walk of life, I've had the opportunity to see different contexts and different situations from at least a minimal of two viewpoints. I've learned how to capitalize on maximizing my voice by knowing who I'm around. So as it contributes to women in filmmaking, recently I was involved in an interview and everyone on set were female, biological female. But I instantly recognized that there was a slight difference when I walked in terms of everybody's vibe and just how the people working on set operated. And it was a different vibe from me. I walked in and I said, oh, I immediately looked where they had set me up so that I could sit and do the interview. And I said, you know, you have some great props here. And if you want, I'm really open to like using this. We could just pull this and, you know, do that. But at the minute that I finished saying what I said, the response was, oh. And I immediately, they didn't have to say anything to me. I knew instantly that oh and that tone and the pause meant that they planned everything out. It was all mapped out, you know, and I just threw them a potential wrench, and I no sooner said, hold that thought. Don't worry about it. I'm just going to sit right over there and I'm going to be a part of this interview and we'll be just fine. Thanks very much. Carrying on. Because I knew that the wahine, you know, the mana wahine in the room was strong. But myself being somebody who I know when I'm strong too, that I have to pull back. Why? Because I'm surrounded by mana wahine. Let mana wahine run the show. Hinale moana, close my mouth. Because I was the subject of the interview. That's what you have to do. That's what an individual has to do. When I'm around Kane, when I'm around the men folk, let them run their thing, but I'm not going to hesitate to say, I see things differently, and I'll just say, if you want my opinion, you know, give them my thoughts and then say, up to you.
Right.
When I'm at the community table or the political table or some other advocacy table, that's when I'll just have to step up and know how to engage in wahine vibe, kind of speak, and be more giving and forgiving and be just to adjust because it's different, and then get back into you know, engaging with Kane. I tend to engage with men a whole lot more because I'm not put off by, you know, by the challenge of working with them.
Mm-hmm.
And just like how everyone else here has said about, you know, especially Vea, like, no, you know, but I think that that's what we have to do to step ourselves up and out, is we have to simply assert and we have to posture being when it's appropriate.
Right. I mean,
That's
what you're
when it's appropriate.
You're really talking about that emotional intelligence that what
Yes.
they have, right? Where you have to be able to walk into all different sorts of spaces and be able to adjust and adapt and read and sense. And it's really, it's something that I've really noticed that wahine are much better at. No offense to the Kane or any.
No offense to the men, they don't get it and they don't pay attention to those things. Sorry, not sorry.
Mahalo, Hina. And Connie, what are some of your thoughts?
I was just thinking about Hina. At the same time she was doing that interview, I was on the same campus at Kamehameha schools. And I remember the girls asking me, are there any other women on your crew of, I don't know, we have 15 or whatever. And I'm like, I'm it. And I'm used to it. And yet at the same time, I love all of these guys. I've worked with them at different capacities. And I just, you know what it is? They're mutually respectful. And I appreciate that. And it really depends on what group I'm working with. As an independent, I'm grateful that I can pick and choose. And I do. And have I walked off a set because there was no mutual respect? Yes. They'll offer me 2 times more money and I go, no amount of money can give me my dignity back. Mm. And then the guy will turn around, and this happened on a feature film, and then they came back with a 3 times more pay. And I was like, no. And I tell you, the star, which was an A+ star, wanted to have dinner later on that evening and just said, I just never seen a woman that can walk away. I want to work with you on your next project. It's just like, whoa. I'm like, I don't want to put you out or anything. He's like, no, I want to work with you on your future projects, the way you handled yourself. And that's the thing I was talking about, reacting and how we are. We can walk with dignity and own it and don't have to take someone else's crap or how they treat others, whether they're the director or an executive producer. I think it really needs to be mutual all the way around. And this man was not respecting the culture of Hawaiian culture and history. And I was just like, can't do it. I can't, I just want to cry thinking about it, but I was like, I can't do it. My heart is not there. And as a woman, I still look back at that, and I just like, it was the right thing to do. It was the right thing to do. And something else will come up, and something else did, it always does.
It always does. It always does. There's, those things that we walk off of and leave always have a good reason, I think.
Yes.
For it.
And it still pops up. People ask me, I remember Connie was in, I was like, mm-hmm. But we learned how to when I say take pride in what we do, it's more of a very humble sense of the word of that. Because, it goes back, I know Hina agrees with this. It's our kuleana. What is our responsibility? To tell those stories with integrity, grace, and honesty. And it really becomes, that's the filmmaker I want to be. And that's the filmmaker, that path I want to walk. Yeah.
Well, I know we're running a little bit short on time, and if people want to pop any questions into the Q&A, we will get to them shortly. But to kind of bring us all to a close, I would love to hear about what is next for each of you, because I know all of you are working on amazing projects all the time. But what is inspiring you, and what are you looking forward to making next?
I'd like to go first.
Yes, Hina.
So I'm really kind of tired of talking about Mahu this and Mahu that. It's enough about that. And I hope that you'll all join me when we're ready to present Kapoor Ma'ilele, the story of Kapoor, the name Kapoor as it is connected in the ka'au of Pele and her engage or her connectivity with Kamapua'a. He is an insatiable man-pig who continues to go after her and go after her and go after her. And when he finally gets into the mix with her, he doesn't want to let her go. And so she calls out to her sister Kapoor. Pele calls out to Kapoor, and Kapoor reaches between her thighs and flies her womanhood to take him away from her sister, because she has other things to do and she has other fires to tend to. It is a story that I believe honors Mana Wahine. It uplifts the power of women, because when one who is female, whether that is female in physical form or mental, emotional, spiritual form, or all of the above, or whatever combination that is, Mana Wahine is so powerful. It brings the other side to their knees.
Very well said. Brings them to their knees. I love that. I can't wait for this. This will be another short animated film,
Yes, it's another short animated film, and we're calling it Kapoor Ma'ilele.
Nice. Mahalo. Vea, what's up next for you? More Polynesian Panthers, or what are you up to?
I'm just editing my short drama at the moment. I just finished Panthers at the start of the week. So, you know what? I'm just gonna actually chill out for a while, be a mum, do that, take that washing, clean up the house. Yeah, no, I've got a few projects in the mix. I'm working towards a feature drama. That's like my big goal here. It's probably going to be a few years in the making, but it's the biggest and greatest survival story in the Pacific. So I've always wanted to do it. read the book when I was a teenager, and so yeah, I'm really passionate about it. But it's going to be a long journey, finding that money, finding the right team to work with. That is so important, as we all know. You know, it's when you start out your feature, right? It's such a long journey that you want to be, you want to have the best team around you. So, yeah, it's going to be good.
Awesome, can't wait. And Kelly, what are you up to next?
Well, it was just a trailer came out for season 3 of Miracle Workers, so that should be airing sometime this year. Please keep your eyes peeled for my episode. But there's fun little pepperings all over. I'm a big fan of historical retelling, and to be able to do it in a comedy space is very freeing. Another thing, I have a small role in it, but Rutherford Falls is dropping April 22nd on Peacock. So my part might have been written out, who knows, but if you watch it, you might catch me in an episode. And again, it's created by so many amazing writers and creatives that are all Native and Indigenous, so please check that out. In terms of other creative things, I'm much like Bea, where I kind of wanted a little bit of a break. Like last year, I wrote on so many shows, a lot of kids shows, Spirit Rangers, and about the last month and a half, I kind of slowed down. And now I'm only writing on a few small projects here or there. I've been saying no to a lot of people. So yes, the power of no, like Connie was saying. But because of that, I'm in a space now where I feel like I can start to stretch my creative voice once more and really start to look at the stories I have always wanted to tell and have been hoping to kind of incubate and bring to life. One of those I've already been working on for several years, and that's Sorry. It's a musical about Vincent van Gogh. It's an interesting place right now with musicals, especially on Turtle Island because of, you know, the coronavirus. But moving forward, I think it's exciting to be an Indigenous storyteller in that space, telling a story that is a white person's story, because for me, it is a Native story. So I'm excited for people to kind of find the intersection of themselves and their own heart and sort of the power of art and what it can do for everybody, hopefully healing a lot of people around the world. So that's my big goal right now, is to focus on that.
Awesome. And Connie, what's up next for you?
Being a producer, normally, I have several projects. I just finished line producing out a project called Shipment Day. These are all, I'm looking at it, and every single one is based on true stories. And like Kelly, I love history. And I'm looking at it, and every single one is at some historical point. And Shipment Day is during the Kalapapa, the leprosy time period of the 1930s. And it's based on a true story about Olivia. And there's a book out called Shipment Day. So we're turning that into a narrative feature. So the other one is called temporary title Paradise, female writer director, about Harriet Bauslag, who is an attorney during the Bloody Monday of when they were trying to unionize the plantation workers in Hawaii. And she represented a Native Hawaiian man with a situation that happened. But all of the oppression that was happening during the 1930s again, and it's her story. And then the other one is called Firebrand, which is really getting a lot of traction. And yes, it's late 1800s, leprosy time period. And it's about the kalalau, going and hiding. And the man's name in this, and it's very well known, is Ko'olau. And so we're taking it very much from the perspective, on a very historical perspective, in a very Hawaiiana perspective on it from the families. So that one's a vitally important one. In every single one I'm looking at it, the heroine in the film is the woman, of course. And I'm realizing that with every single one of these. And Bucciano is another one in production, post-production, and it's the writer director actually going back to Italy. We took a Hawaii crew, and we've already filmed twice in southern Italy, and the immigration coming to the United States during the early 1900s. We're talking 1911, 1917, and that's by Cindy Iodice. And our Hawaii crew has been amazing on it, just amazing. And
I heard the food was great.
Awesome. Now I know what pizza's supposed to taste like. All of us were like, and we just had an amazing crew, just the best cinematographers in this state. We had both of them with us. And that's coming along very, very well. And the last one and the most passionate one I have is the Glades project. And I've been working on that, and that just keeps going and going and going. And it's Mahus during the 1960s. And they're the heroines, and they're the survivors. And I just get little bits at a time, and I just keep moving forward on it. And I've had a lot of great support from PIC, Pacific Islanders and Communications, and with Robert Pennybacker from PBS Hawaii as a consultant on it, which has really helped me shape the story. So I'm writing and directing on that one and producing. And of course I have a woman co-producer and a woman co-director and a woman editor. So and we've been working on this for a long while, and that's just a project that it's just deep in my heart. It has to finish. It has to finish. I can't let go of it. You know, same thing. It's my kuleana. I know it is. So I have a lot on my plate, and I just keep moving forward. Thanks.
I love all of these different projects, and thank you all for sharing in this hour. It's been very inspiring. I don't see any questions in the Q&A, so to close out, I'm just going to ask you guys in one short sentence for like a little bit of inspiration for folks who might be watching, but something that I've really kind of struggled with this year, especially given, you know, the pandemic and everything going on in the world these days, is how to stay creative, right? How do you stay creative? How do you kind of nurture that creative spirit? Is there anything that you want to kind of, that you would recommend to folks who might be watching and they might be working on their own projects to kind of just keep moving forward?
Yep.
Yeah, Connie, sure. Oh, Connie, you muted yourself. I'm sorry, dear.
There it goes. The most important thing that I found is honing the story. You know, having Robert Pennybacker and meeting, and everything is on Zoom. Even on my talks with the writer directors, 2 different ones in LA, it's all been by Zoom, but continuing and honing the story and getting it to a point of where it's ready for the investors. And the investors have backed off, like Firebrand, because of COVID. And then now they're ready to re-enter again. And then other people have come on board, and I'm like, whoa, you know, and it's just, it's allowed the time to refocus on the projects, to develop them to be better and stronger.
Focus on the story, refocus, use this time. That's a great one. Kelly, inspiration? How do you stay inspired?
Hydrate, drink a lot of water, meditate, listen to yourself, because right now there's so much changing and moving that your stories might change and move as well. So the most important thing is to really be listening to who and what you are. And if you feel at all dragged in certain corners because you think something's going to be, someone wants this or someone wants, don't do that. Truly slow down and listen to what you want to do and the stories you want to tell, because the world is shifting and our stories will shift with it. So that's my 2 cents.
Awesome. Thank you, Kelly. Vea.
I think, just keep moving forward one step at a time. Be kind to yourself and take breaks. I think that's my thing that I actually need to learn, is to tools down, go and spend some time with the family, do something active, just take a break. That deadline, it can wait sometimes. But yeah, just one step at a time.
I'm gonna email you to remind me, Bea, to please take a break. I need to remember to do that probably a little bit more. And Hina, any final thoughts on how to stay inspired to keep being creative?
I often told my students in K through 12, and I also told this to my attendees of my my classes within the incarceration system here for the Kanaka who came to them. Believe in your capacity for greatness. And believing in that capacity for greatness means that you will be keenly aware of the things that you need to do in order to, not necessarily overnight, but slowly rise to your own personal level of success and personal best. That personal best does not have to be the equivalent to the next person's. And part of getting to that next level of success is by having a free mind and a free heart. Many of us get caught with the woulda, coulda, shouldas in our lives. Things that we may have wanted so desperately. Things that we may have wanted to maneuver, manipulate. Things that we were so set on. Sometimes we just simply have to accept and embrace that just wasn't our time. In my film Kapai Mahu and the vie for the Oscar, we made it to the top 10. And when it was announced that we did not make it to the top 5, I simply said, okay, that's fine, and paid no further thought to it. Not one. Would it have been great? Yes. But it wasn't necessary to receive an Oscar to be successful as far as the film goes, and as far as I go in my personal and my professional journey in this lifetime. So for any wahine, for any person out there who will avail themselves to the next level of best, envision it and stay free in the mind and heart.
Absolutely. Oh, mahalo for that. And frankly, you guys are the winner in my book for that category. It is a beautiful film and definitely one of my favorites. So, and I know everyone in Hawaii was rooting for you guys. So you guys really, really are seriously, you shouldn't feel bad. You're right. Absolutely. You made it to the top 10, which is a huge, huge accomplishment. And I like that. Believe in your capacity for greatness. So with that, I think we'll close it out. And I just want to say thank you very much to all of you. Kelly, Vea, Connie, Hina, mahalo nui for being here and for sharing your thoughts, your mana'o, your feelings with everyone. I really appreciate you taking the time. I also want to thank Georgia and Creative Lab Hawaii for hosting us today. I'm just going to make a couple quick announcements to wrap up. There is going to be a new Creative Lab Hawaii theater community that is going to be starting up in the month of April, with 2 great Zoom webinars and a shorts play festival co-sponsored by the State of Hawaii Theater Council. The first webinar is going to be Saturday on April 3rd, and I cannot see the rest of my script. And the topic is going to be the future of theater. The Shorts Play Festival will take place on Saturday, April 24th, 2021. And the second Zoom webinar will also take place on Wednesday, April 28th. You can visit creativelab.hawaii.gov for more information on that really fun Zoom webinar that they've got coming up. So on behalf of the State of Hawaii and DBET and Creative Industries Division and Good Pitch Local Hawaiʻi, mahalo. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you to our wonderful panelists again. Have an amazing day. Mahalo.